So I've been talking to a lot of local people, both in the comments right here on my YouTube video, but as well as just in person or throughout social media platforms. And a lot of people here locally kind of had the attitude that Utah should be closed. So the real question is Utah truly closed? Are we not accepting outsiders anymore? Of course we can't say that that's the case, but I want to dive into the sentiment as to why some people really don't want to see Utah grow any further, but really to help give you perspective as to how you can make Utah a home as well. And this can be kind of a touchy subject because for a lot of local people, they hate seeing their city and their state continue to grow and grow and grow, especially given the challenges that come along with that growth. And I'm going to outline those challenges right here in this video. I would love your feedback in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are as to what is the biggest challenge for us growing right here in Utah, because I love having those conversations in the comments. Okay, so you're considering making the move to Utah, or perhaps you already live here. You've seen the state of Utah grow over the last 10, 20 years, and Utah's been the fastest growing state in the nation since 2010. And there's so many great reasons as to why, but there are also challenges that come along with that. And these are the very challenges that many of the people who already live here or who have lived here their entire lives continue to point out. And ultimately, it's solutions that they're seeking. So what are the solutions to these various problems? I'm going to talk about just a little bit about what those problems are, but also about what the potential solutions could look like. And I'm not going to sugarcoat things. I'm going to talk about the most difficult things that are struggles that we're dealing with as the state of Utah continues to grow. All right, so first and foremost, let's get the elephant out of the room. The biggest challenge as to why many people don't want to see the state of Utah continue to grow is the rising cost of housing. This is not just a problem with buying real estate, but it's also a problem for those who are renting as well. Rents have skyrocketed, home values have skyrocketed, and if you haven't gotten in early enough on purchasing a home, you haven't realized those benefits that have accompanied the rising cost of housing. In fact, many of the people that are buying homes today are doing so simply because they bought years ago and they have a lot of equity in their homes that have doubled, tripled, or quadrupled in value since they purchased those homes. But I don't want to forget those that haven't purchased a home. And if you're renting, you haven't been able to take advantage of that benefit, of that upside of the equity that you've built because you've owned a home for some time. And as the cost of living has risen, as well as the cost of housing tremendously, the wages have not kept up. Wages have been on the rise in Utah tremendously over the last few years, but it's not as noticeable because the cost of living has increased at a higher rate, including the housing costs. And so that leads me to what I believe is the greatest threat, and that is affordable housing. The affordable housing crisis here is real. There are people that experience the pain of it each and every day because they're spending half of their income just on living expenses. And it's difficult to do that when the cost of food and everything else is going up and your wages are not keeping up quite the same. So ultimately, what is the fix for the problem, right? I don't see home values coming down anytime soon. I don't think that the corrective measures that will have the effect to bring the housing prices down are going to be the solution. What I do, however, see as the problem is we just don't have enough homes for the number of people that are living here or moving here. And so it really just breaks down to a simple economic supply-demand equation. We do not have enough homes for the people that want to buy them, and because of that, our home prices are continuing to rise, even in an environment when the market has slowed down or interest rates are really high and inflation is really high. We still see home prices over the last 12 months rising 5.8%. So as soon as inflation really comes into check and those interest rates start dropping, the demand is going to be fueled even more and home prices are going to go up at a much faster pace. So the only way we can overcome that is building more homes. And I know that that's another challenge. That's a whole nother reason why so many people don't want to see Utah grow more. They don't want to see more and more homes being built. But honestly, it's the only solution. In order to keep the quality of life here in Utah reasonable in terms of the living expenses, we have to build more homes. In fact, right now we sit at about a 40,000 home shortage to meet current demand, but that demand will continue to go up, especially as interest rates come down in the future. And I know that that's not what a lot of local people want to hear, that we need to build more homes, but we honestly do. The only way that we're going to maintain a lifestyle here that is affordable is by building more homes. At the same time, we can't limit people from actually moving here. In America, we have the freedom to move to wherever we'd like to. And so who are we to say, or who are we we as a government to say that people can't move here. We can't do that either. We have to build a system that works for everybody, especially those that are already from Utah or that have lived here for some time, but also for those that are moving here. It's definitely something that I think about a lot, and I do believe that the solutions are going to be many. I hope that the legislative measures that are taking place will help spur development in a responsible manner and to get our supply up to a healthy number that will allow people to actually buy real estate. And it's the more affordable homes that really need to be built at a higher rate. This is starting to take place in many areas south of Utah County, as well as west out in Eagle Mountain and west of Salt Lake City in Tooele County. We're seeing some development of homes that you can still get into a nice single-family home for under $500,000. And I know that if you lived here for longer than a decade, that's almost a crazy number to throw out, but that's what it looks like today in this world as Utah's real estate prices have rapidly increased over the last handful of years. And tied to that cost of living increase is also, the cost of groceries, the cost of everything, the utilities and everything in between. Inflation has really affected every single American, no matter where you live, and it's no different here in the state of Utah. And so hopefully we can keep our home prices in check moving forward so that we don't see that rapid increase that made it so incredibly difficult these last 3 or 4 years. All right, another common denominator, another common theme in the comments in my YouTube videos is people are really stressed about the infrastructure, the roads, the highways, and a lot of local people view the traffic here in Utah as being the worst. They think that the traffic here has gotten so incredibly difficult, and I completely empathize with that sentiment. But if you look at other cities, no matter where you go, whether it be Denver, Las Vegas, Phoenix, Los Angeles, anywhere in California or Texas, the traffic here is significantly better. The average commute time in Salt Lake City metropolitan area is 22 minutes, which is far better than most every other metropolitan city of similar size or even, of course, bigger as well. It's not fair to say that we have the worst traffic. It's not fair to say that we don't have great infrastructure because, in all honesty, you have to have the people to provide for the tax dollars to then pay for the infrastructure. And so it's really hard to get out in front of the growth and build ahead of it. And there have been times, decades in fact, where the infrastructure was not well planned out. But I do feel like that some of the projects that are happening today are very well thought out and have been planned for decades, and they're being built out right now. There's a couple areas that I want to talk about and highlight. The West Davis corridor was planned out very long ago, and along with the Legacy Parkway, these corridors to get north-south through Davis County are crucial for the infrastructure up in not only Davis County, but Weber County as well. Now, the other area I wanted to talk about is Utah County, specifically the northern section of Utah County, which happens to be the fastest growing area in the state, including Lehigh, Saratoga Springs, and Eagle Mountain. Now, the Mountain View corridor is the new freeway being built in Salt Lake County that extends all the way south into Utah County. That project is right now underway, being built to connect all the way down and into and through Saratoga Springs, with another branch going out to Eagle Mountain and another one connecting over to I-15. I see this as being one of the worst areas for traffic right now, especially at 5 or 6 o'clock p.m. If you're in Lehigh and you need to get to Saratoga Springs, it can be pretty difficult depending on where you live, or Eagle Mountain as well. But with the infrastructure that was well planned out and that is currently under construction, in just a few short years that will play out, and this area will become phenomenal in terms of infrastructure. It's just going to take a few years to get there. But there's so much more to infrastructure than just roads, right? We have schools. Our schools can be overcrowded, especially in the areas that are growing the fastest. And Utah overall already has the largest class sizes in the nation because we do have more children here than any other state. And even though Utah as a state spends more percentage-wise of their budget on education, we still have larger class sizes. Good news, we've actually reached a point where we are a top 10 state in the nation for starting salaries for teachers, which is great because we've seen in the past a lot of teachers leaving. So that's a really good thing. That's a good start. But we really need to keep up the infrastructure growth for schools because we don't want those class sizes to get any bigger. In fact, I would argue that we really desperately need to get those class sizes going down because that's how you can actually manage a classroom. If you've ever been in a classroom with more than 15, 16, 18 students, you're really doing more of what I would call crowd control as opposed to educating your children. So for me personally, it's a really valid point because I have a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old right now, so I'm right in the thick of it. But beyond road infrastructure and schools, we also have other things like healthcare and public services and emergency services. I think that Utah is doing a great job in keeping up with those things. It's the schools that really need a little bit of work in terms of building ahead of the population so that we don't have overcrowded schools. All right, next up on the list, this is one that I hear constantly in the comments or in discussions when I'm having conversations with people that are moving here and the people that have already lived here, and that is the environmental environmental concerns with the growing population. And that really boils down to two things. Number one is air quality, and number two is water. Utah is the second driest state in the nation, and water is a really scarce resource here because we are limited as to how much water we actually have. We survive here in the state of Utah because of the snowpack from the winter that then fills up our reservoirs, and we can use that water year-round. Now, the last couple of years have been phenomenal. In fact, 2 years ago, it was record-breaking. So our reservoirs are in very healthy positions. They're full, they're great. But over time, as the population grows, a lot of people are really concerned that we're just simply not going to have enough water. And the truth is, only 4% of our water in the state of Utah is actually used by the people who live here. The rest of that water is used for buildings, it's for agriculture and commercial use. And the vast majority of the water used for agriculture is used to water a crop that is very water intensive, and that is alfalfa. And that is just the crop that we use to feed our livestock. And so as Utah continues to grow in terms of population, rather than using up 4% of our water, that population might use 5, 6, or 7%. If we doubled our population, how much more water would we need? Well, honestly, it's going to take some conservation efforts, especially in the agricultural arena, to make sure that we can save the water that we need in order to keep living in this dry place. But going back to air quality is a whole nother thing. People are super concerned about air quality, especially in the winter when we have those inversions. But we also have other times of the year where we have bad air as well, and sometimes that happens in the summer. In fact, this last month, we've had more days that I've noticed where we didn't have good air. As we get more people here, as we get more population, more pollution, that really can get trapped down here in the valley because we're completely surrounded by mountains, which is a struggle based on our geography. And there's really nothing you can do until a weather pattern comes in and pushes that air out and gives you nice clean air like we have today. In fact, today, the skies are crystal clear blue because we had a small little storm blow through last night that brought just a little trace of rain, and it really cleared out the skies. It looks beautiful out there today. And even though air quality along the Wasatch Front has drastically improved over the last 30 years, we still have a long ways to go, and it's certainly a relevant conversation. Okay, the next thing I wanted to talk about that people don't like the fact that Utah is growing is the impact on the social and cultural environment. That's not just politics, of course that's a big part of it, but it's also our communities. What is it doing to our communities? Is it changing it so much that Utah begins to become unrecognizable? And so a lot of the things that people will say in the comments or in conversations is we don't want people moving here from other states who are going to then vote or act or expect the same things that they came from. In other words, a lot of people here use the language that we don't want people to Californicate our state, and I get it. A lot of people have a negative sentiment towards Californians. Now, my personal experience, after working with many people that are moving from California, including my wife and her family, they come here because they like what Utah has to offer. They're coming here, for the vast majority of them at least, because they identify more with what Utah has to offer, both as a community and socially, than does California. And so I actually would argue that it's actually making our state better. And I know that it's really difficult for locals to understand that and feel that, but when you talk to people that are moving here from all over the country, including California, each and every day, you really get to know them and understand what's making them want to move here. In fact, it's my first question that I ask people: of all places, why are you picking Utah? So if you're considering moving to the state of Utah, or perhaps you already live here, and this is the type of content that will help you make that move, I would love it if you'd hit that subscribe button. It really means a lot because it helps me get in front of more people just like you. And if we haven't met yet, my name is Scott Steele, and I absolutely love helping people discover all things Utah, including Utah real estate. And my team and I are here to serve you and make sure that we can make that move as smooth as possible. And you can find our contact information in the description below or in the pinned comment, where you can reach out to us or book a call with us. Whatever works, hit us up. Okay, and I wanted to talk about one more thing. If we let people come to the state of Utah, it's going to change the dynamics within our communities. It's going to change how it feels, how it operates. It's going to change the politics. It's going to change the social structure, whatever you want to call it. But for me personally, I happen to live in the largest master planned community in the state, which is Daybreak. And Daybreak is full of people that have moved here from other places. If I were to walk the streets of Daybreak and ask every single person that's there, where are you from? I would probably guess that 80% of them are not from the state of Utah, and they've moved here from somewhere else. And I absolutely love that. I think it's so cool to see so many people come here, find a common community, whether it be Daybreak or otherwise, but find a place where they can make a home for themselves and their family, because because honestly, Utah has some amazing things to discover, but it also is an amazing place to live, along with the family-friendly environment and everything else that the state of Utah offers. It really is a great place to live. Now, I understand I'm incredibly biased because I'm from here, but I have people on my team that are not from the state of Utah as well. So I love having that different perspective within my own real estate team as we help people, because it can really give you some different insight as to what to expect. So why are some locals so hesitant towards the growth? Well, it's the infrastructure. It's the schools that are getting more busy. It's the roads that are getting busier. It's the air quality. It's the water. It's everything that I've talked about in this video. And these are things that many people are definitely resistant towards. And I would like to emphasize the importance of sustainable growth as we continue to grow, because I do not see the growth slowing down for the foreseeable future. In fact, I would argue for the next decade and beyond, it's going to continue to grow. So rather than complain, what can we do to create a situation where we can better manage this growth and make sure that those that are moving here fit into what Utah has to offer, and they too can become part of and add to everything that the state of Utah has to offer. So again, if you find this content helpful, subscribe to the channel. And if you're looking to make that move, my team and I would love to be your real estate resource of choice. You can find our contact information in the description or the pinned comment right here on this video. And until the next video, thanks.